Welcome everyone to another episode of Trending Worldwide. I am Scott Decaf Adams, and this will be another edition of our top countdowns in wrestling history. This is a continuation of the former top 15 countdown of famous wrestling deaths in history. This is the top 14 forgotten wrestling deaths in history. Here's how this will work. I will give you the wrestlers' real names, play their theme songs, and explain to you a little bit about who they were in wrestling and how they died. Let's get started, folks. Our top number 14 is a wrestler whose real name is Jerry Twitt. Jerry Twitt in WCW went by the name of The Wall and Malice. He was in Japan at the time of his death, wrestling for a Japanese company, I believe. He was 36 years old and died of a heart attack, which many claim was a result of drugs. Moving on to our number 13 on the list is a wrestler whose real name is Kerry Atkinson. Kerry Atkinson, folks. More commonly known as Kerry Von Erich and the Texas Tornado. Kerry Von Erich at some point in his career, I believe, had a motorcycle accident or a car accident, which caused him to lose a part of his foot and get a prosthetic, and it really sunk him into depression. He really wasn't comfortable with it, and I believe he just, in the end, committed suicide at the age of 33. Obviously part of the Von Erich family, and if you think about it, it tells you that the Von Erich family really isn't Von Erichs, they're Atkinsons. Let's move on to our number 12, folks. Our number 12 is Andy Kaufman. Obviously, Andy Kaufman is his real name. I'm going to have to stop this theme in a second because it's very short. Why is Andy Kaufman on this list? He never appeared in a major company, but what he did for professional wrestling is unmatched, folks. Andy Kaufman was the first to really challenge women. He was the first to insult women, call them, say that they only belonged in the home. He was the first to challenge Jerry Lawler, at the time, a full-time wrestler, to a match. He was the first to bring a wrestling storyline onto a late-night television show. And at the time that that whole storyline was going on, everyone thought it was real. Someone showed up out of the audience to wrestle him. And it wasn't revealed until his sort of documentary that this was planned. He planned it with Lawler. No one had done anything like that, and it elevated wrestling because Kaufman really did love wrestling. And, if you can see the picture that's with his theme, it says Women's Wrestling Championship of the World. And it was just something very unique. Andy died at the age of 35 as a result of lung cancer. There's always been a lot of controversy behind Andy's death. Andy created a character called Tony Clifton, kind of an annoying lounge singer. And when he died, the character was still performing live. And his manager, who had been the character a few times, was not the character. He would stand in the back while the character was on stage. So, who was the character? Andy's dead. His manager's in the back. Who's playing Tony? Many believe Andy faked his own death. Moving on to our number 11, folks. Our number 11 on the countdown is Bryan Adams. Bryan Adams, more commonly known as Crush, he wrestled with Bryan Adams, Kona Crush, and also was the first wrestler to appear as the Kiss Demon. Bryan Adams was really quite famous. He'd done a lot in WCW. He'd done a lot in WWF. And he was found at 43 dead as a result of an overdose. I don't really know what happened here. I wish I did, because he really made an impact. Maybe he just wasn't getting work. I don't really know. But it's very sad. Chronic was a team with Brian Clark, who was commonly known as Wrath in WCW. He was known as Atom Bomb in WWF. And I believe Brian Clark is still around. So now we're going to move on to our number 10. I'm going to pause the music because I don't have theme music for this guy. His real name is Louis Muccioli. Louis Muccioli was more commonly known in WCW as Louis Piccoli, in ECW as, I believe, just Piccoli. and in WWF as Rad Radford. There are matches with him, with Bret Hart on YouTube, so he was in WWF. He was probably the youngest death on this list. He is, once again, number 10. He died at 27 years old of an overdose. There were a lot of tumultuous things going on in his life at the time. 27 years old. Let's move on to our number, what are we on right now? 9? Number 9, folks, is the only woman, the real name is, only woman on this countdown, Rhonda Singh. Famous for wrestling as Bertha Faye. And Rhonda Singh, and I believe she was called Monster Ripper in WCW, she died at the age of 40 as a result of a heart attack. It doesn't seem like there were any drugs involved. She was a bigger woman, but she really did make an impact. And for those of you that are old enough to remember when she was wrestling, she was very fun to watch. She was a pretty good big woman wrestler. Next, let's move on to our number 8, folks. Our number 8. Our number 8 real name is Eddie Fatu. Should sound familiar because you know him as Maaga and Jamal from 3 Minute Warning. Obviously a part of the Fatu family, a part of the Online family, was getting a major push as Maaga died at the age of 36 as a result of an overdose. Don't know why he would do something like that. Don't know why he'd even get involved with drugs because he was getting pushed. He could have been something big, but we'll never know now. Let's move on to our number 7, folks. Our number 7. Number 7 is Mike Shaw. He is the Booger Man, or Bastion Booger. For those of you that go, he stole that from the Boogeyman. No, Bastion Booger was around long before the Boogeyman. He was Bastion Booger and Friar Ferguson. He died at the age of 43 as a result of a heart attack. It doesn't say that there were any drugs involved, just a heart attack. He was a bigger guy, so that probably did play a factor. This music is one of the most disturbing musics or themes that I've ever heard. Let's move on to our number 6, folks. Our number 6. One of my most favorite theme songs ever, one of my most favorite wrestlers, real name Brad James. Excuse me. Brad James. Brad James was Brad Armstrong and Buzzkill. He's part of the James family. Yes, their real last name is James, not Armstrong. His brother, Ryan James, is the Road Dogg. Scott and Steve are also referees in the WWF. He died at the age of 50 as a result of a heart attack. According to all the information that I found, it doesn't say that there were any drugs involved. He was always one of my favorite wrestlers, and he will always be missed. This was a very shocking death. Let's move on to our number 5, folks.
World Wrestling Federation.
There should be a hint of how old this theme is. Our number 5, folks, is Nelson Fraser Jr., more commonly known as Viscera and Mabel, or King Mabel. Been with the company off and on for a very long time, died at the age of 43 of a result of a heart attack. Interesting fact here, his wife attempted to sue the WWE, claiming that they did not tell him information that could risk giving him the same condition that a lot of football players have. WWE denies that the lawsuit ever happened, so we really don't know. Let's move on to our number 4, ladies and gentlemen, our number 4. This isn't The Undertaker's theme song, but it's music I chose for William Moody, more commonly known to all of us that loved him as Paul Bearer. Paul Bearer has to be one of the most famous managers of all time, and yes, he did wrestle when he was very young. He died at the age of 58 as a result of a heart attack. I believe he was sick, I believe he was trying to lose weight, but it was a horrible loss. We saw The Undertaker and King actually break character and salute him, of course, on, I believe it was Raw. Very horrible loss. Let's move on to our number 3, folks. Our number 3 is John Tenga. John Tenga, more commonly known as Golga, for this music, which is the Oddities, and Earthquake, earlier on in the WWF at the time. Very good wrestler for his size, pretty much did whatever anyone asked him to do. He was 42 when he died, and he died of bladder cancer. Probably one of the most unique deaths on this list, bladder cancer. What's also interesting about John Tenga is he was really involved in the internet at the time that he died. And that was a time when all these things weren't big. I don't think Facebook existed. I don't think YouTube was that big. But he was always online, always writing about his condition and his treatments, how he's doing. And people just loved that. They felt a real connection to him. He's still horribly missed. I remember him. I have a lot of friends who remember him. So we're getting real close, folks. Let's move on to our number 2. Our number 2, and I'm going to butcher his real name, is Chris Klugsaritz. Chris Klugsaritz, which you don't know by the music, you will know in a second, is the guy who is more commonly known as Canyon, or Mortis. Canyon wrestled both in WCW, WWF, very good wrestler. Obviously, he was able to be Mortis, which was a blatant ripoff of Scorpion, and supposed to be a rival to The Undertaker. He was doing his job right. Canyon was 40 at the time and died because he committed suicide. He was in a lot of depression. Once again, there's a lot of controversy behind Canyon. After he left WWE, he did a storyline in which he claimed that he was released because he was gay. Then he later said that was just a storyline, he's not really gay. But then a book came out and said, yeah, he really was gay, according to the writer of the book. And some wrestlers claimed he was gay. And the depression he was suffering was because he was struggling with being accepted as a professional wrestler that was gay. So moving on to our number 1, folks. I'm sure you'll know by the music, but we're going to go with it anyways. Our number 1 is Matt Osborne, the original Doink, not one of the 4 or 5 other people that have played him. Matt Osborne was in WCW, ECW, and, of course, the WWF. He was Doink. He was born again in the ECW, not an evangelical, born again religious character, but sort of born again in which he played the story that he dropped the Doink gimmick and wanted nothing to do with it. And he was Big Josh in WCW. He died at the age of 55, and they claim it was an accidental overdose. Now remember, this has been another episode of Trending Worldwide, and this is the second part in a top 15 countdown of wrestler deaths. The first part was posted before Trending Worldwide started, when it was still the Social Media Wrestling Alliance, and I was using my real name, so it doesn't appear on this YouTube page. If you guys want to see it on this YouTube page, let me know. I'll be happy to post it. If you like what you see, be sure and click the subscribe button, hit like, and comment below. If you want to see more top videos, let us know. If you want to see some of our reviews on the issues, let us know. Trending Worldwide is 3 of us. It is myself, Scott, Decaf Adams, Jason, Big Daddy D. Harlan, and Josh Michaels. We do post together as a group about once a month, and when those of us get time, I've had a lot of time obviously, we will post individual videos. Let us know what you want to see if you want to see the videos, and remember, this has been another Trending Worldwide with Doink.